Peace and blessings, family. Welcome back to another conversation on African Spiritual Conversations. How are you doing? Yeah, yeah, Vias. How y'all doing?
Good, good.
Good, doing good. How
How
you
was
doing?
y'all on the weekend?
Well, it was a holiday here yesterday. So we had one of those weekends where, a long weekend, everybody gets their celebration shoes on. It was nice. We grilled um, snapper, we grilled
Mm,
salmon, we grilled corn.
mm.
Um, so my son did all that. I sat down.
Right on. What holiday was it?
Uh, it's it's called Heroes Day now. I don't know how many years they've been calling it Heroes Day, but it originally started and it's celebrated. This is still a colony. Mm,
Yeah.
go figure. And so it started out as the Queen's birthday. Now the Queen was born in April, but she can decide when you're going to celebrate her
With her
birthday. So
birthday.
Oh Lord. Do you feel like the Queen owes reparations?
hell yeah!
Okay.
All that money she got that she didn't work for, and it's on the backs of black people and
Yeah.
even her own people. Yeah, she owes reparations. Walking around with that purse.
Mm. Wow. Okay. What about you, Sister Ifa Mobukwe? I seen some of your posts this weekend. What's
Mm.
going on with you?
Yeah.
I'm loving your posts.
Oh yeah. Every now and then I get I don't know what it is, inspiration, I guess. Just, I want to have a conversation with the people. And since we're in this situation we're in, whatever, we're not really gathering like we once have, then it's nice to
Yeah.
put some stuff out there and see, you know, some thoughts that I have and share them. That's all.
Do
It
you
was
think
good.
that in this time, or both of you, in this time, that we are struggling with our spiritual senses as we're out there, or whatever battlefield you're on? Do you think we're struggling a little bit spiritually?
Um, we're communal people. Most of the spiritual things that Black people do are done in groups. So I think in that way, it can make things a little more challenging if you still haven't been able to get a group together. You know what I mean? If we can
Mhm.
still come together at least limits on a limited basis and do things together, I think that helps. And people who have a close knit family probably aren't having as many challenges as the people who are kind of spread apart singularly or maybe even just in smaller groups. So um, I think there can be some challenges just to say grounded enough to keep your spiritual senses alert, but then also for people who have been practicing and disciplining themselves and tempering themselves to their spiritual relationships over time, this is a time when your senses are also heightened. And
Mhm.
like we've noticed that when you say things, they generally happen faster. It's not so much clutter in your mind too. So, I mean, it's yes and no.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think we are struggling spiritually for all the reasons that you mentioned, Ifa Dupwe. And but I think it gives, well, some of us are better at, some of us are introverts. Let's put it that
Mhm.
way. So we're better at going within and being more insular than those of us who are extroverts. And
Yeah.
we like to be out among the people. And but you see how people were so quick to come together. Now, with George Floyd, that was a terrible situation, but I mean, we could name probably 50, 60 other people who, or maybe just 5 or 10 that we saw on television, what happened to them. I can't think of the guy's name, but the one who said he couldn't breathe, he was a heavy set guy
The
up in New
Cigarette guy.
York. Yes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you could
Remember
see
that.
that the life was being drained out of him. But this, for some reason, George Floyd hit that nerve, and I think that was as a result of the fact that we were all we were going through that, being indoors and not being able to 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 live like we had been living, and so people had time to go within, and then they visually saw that on television, and and people were beginning to, when you don't have food and you don't know if you're going to get food at the supermarket, and when you don't have all those other things that we had to do without during the pandemic, which we're still doing without here. But anyway, um, it gives you pause. It makes you understand that you're dependent on people for your food. And that's why it's so wonderful to see what Javon is doing, because she's providing for her family. They'll have food. If they can't eat nothing else, they can eat everything that she's putting, that's
That's
coming
your
up
part.
Yep.
out
Yeah.
of the earth, you know? And the rest of us, we don't even know how to plant food for the most part,
Yeah, that's your part.
so when all of that happening, and this happened by design. This was no fluke. This happened by design. We're the cosmos is changing, and the cosmos lives within inside of us, and we are changing as the human species, as sentient beings. We're all changing, and that means spiritually as well. And I do believe that our spiritual practices are going to evolve as well.
Oh yeah.
I don't know exactly in what direction. I can take a guess, but I don't know what direction. But our spiritual practices are going to change, and so yes, the answer to the question is yes, we're being very affected spiritually. And some of us who thought we were so damn spiritual are finding out that we ain't so spiritual. And we got a lot of work to do to walk the walk that we've been talking all this time. It's easy to talk, but
Hmm.
it's very hard to walk.
Yeah, because for one thing, this is just an example that you brought to mind, Ian. Um, so we all have a way that we think things come into creation, right?
Mm.
Um, and it's easy to say that intellectually when everything's going well.
Hmm.
This is the way, this is what I did, and it created this circumstance. And because of this circumstance, I was able to manifest this thing. And so, but when when the landscape that you're operating in changes so dramatically, like it has over the last few months, then you have to lock into that as that's your default way of being, or it gets shaken up a little bit. And that way, I feel like that's a spiritual challenge in a way to say, this is the way that we were created. This is the way that things come into creation. And if you are steadfast in your understanding of that, but yet detached from the outcome in such a way that you can say, it's according to my destiny, or Christians would say God's will, or however you want to say it, right? Then you will know that you can't control any of the circumstances you live in. You can control your reaction to those circumstances and what you do in response to them, but you can't control the circumstance. And that we all live in that, we all live in our own perspective of that circumstance, but we are together here inhabiting the earth. And so you have to, if you can lock into that in a way that isn't dogmatic, in other words, now because I believe this, you have to believe it. That makes me feel, then again, it's true if someone else believes it as well. We had to, in isolation, you have to know that for yourself. And then there has to be some proof. Like there needs to be, like, you are going to see if what you believe in works. You're going to start asking yourself the question, what do I believe? Why do I believe it? And does it work? And then you're going to see. When the circumstances like this, you begin to see whether or not. And so I think, yeah, that definitely challenges your spiritual constitution, your commitment to what you believe, whether it should be a soft hold on things or a very, like, a vice-like grip on it. You have to make some choices. What do you think, Rolanda?
I think, well, I believe or I know that everything works for the greater good. So
Uh-huh.
I think some of us are, I don't think everybody's out there for the same reason. But no matter
Hmm.
what reason they're out there for, it's to push for whatever's going to happen along.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's police reform. I don't know if that's redistributing the wealth. I don't know if that's tearing the whole country down. Like everything
Mm-hmm.
is a part of making this thing happen, whatever that will be.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Uh-huh. I do.
I feel like spiritually, we struggle because we always want to make spiritual things be physical. Because most of us, all we can see is physical. We can't see
Right.
the other thing. Like we don't know how to explain. Some of us gotta have an
Right.
explanation for everything. So
Yeah.
I think it's all in divine order. I keep telling myself, this is just me, that when I think about my ancestors who struggled and died here in North America, in the United States, particularly in the southern part, because my people are from South
Mm-hmm.
Carolina and Virginia, that their prayers will not go unanswered. And I don't care if it takes 250 years for those prayers to be answered. This is all divine order. Like I think we have so many unseen forces pushing us.
Yeah.
That's what
Mhm.
I believe.
I
Yeah.
agree.
So you could try to have 50 million plans, but whatever is meant to happen will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think that when things are falling apart, because they do,
Mhm.
um, the call is for us to use our imagination for the things that it was meant to be used for. We spend a lot of time talking about what could go wrong, but that's not really what your imagination is for. Your imagination is a power that opens up a door for you to begin to get spiritual downloads of intelligence and and information that will lead to an innovative solution for the problem that you're facing. If we want to really rebuild things in a way that works for everyone, we could live in a world that works for everyone, or even if it doesn't work for everyone, is designed to. And that would be
Mm.
something new. That would be a new way of looking at things. That would be a new way of putting things together. And it's like new music. So when a new type of music comes out, at first everybody's like, kind of, a little bit, like they don't, can't really get into it just off to, it might have to sit with them a while. Some people will take right to it and some people won't. It's kind of like that. Like it's going to turn some people off just on the basis that they've been misusing their imagination for so long. Like they can't get into a new frame of thought. They can't make a paradigm shift. They won't have quantum leap right off the top. I was listening to your live this morning a little bit, and Dr. Flo, and one of the things she mentioned was the lack of creativity on city council in regard to the idea of defunding the police. And that struck me as a spiritual challenge. Like that's one of those things where now your creativity is a part of your spiritual force. And because she speaks with such power and conviction, like she can't be denied. Do you know what I mean? That's one of the
Right.
things I love about her. Like
Yeah.
she's clear about what needs to occur next. So, and I love that about her.
Me
And
too.
then, you know, and it is disheartening when people don't even have enough creativity to latch on to a new idea. And this happens, like you said, spiritually, we may have to start doing something new. It happens in every arena of life. People
Yep.
get married to what is, and then they can't see beyond that. They are always trying to fix things. They're trying to fix what is rather than just saying, this doesn't work. Let's let it go and then create something new, because we definitely have the genius within us as a people to put forth new ideas and innovative ways of doing things.
What I love about Dr. Flo, and I'm gonna go to our dear sister Abba's question, is that she's a powerhouse in herself. But you know when things are shifting because normally she's very like we're gonna all get along. We're gonna excuse me. But
Yeah,
last night she was like, man, I was like, who the hell is that? Like, you know what I mean? The way she would not let the mayor like ooze his way out. She was like, you cannot be on. Basically, she said you can't be on the side of the righteous, but be with evil. Like you said, you
exactly.
can't do that, player. You can't say
Right.
you with the
And that's
people
a
if
front
you a part of
line
the
though
system,
that she's
huh?
on. It's a front line that she's on.
So
And let me say this. Let me be clear, because um, people who live in Sacramento and have kind of seen some of the neo-colonialist politics jumping off, that there are other Black people in leadership positions in the city who are working in organizations that say they work on behalf of Black people in that in that same meeting,
mhm.
sitting on that same advisory committee, who don't see that as the front line. But she's clear in her understanding that whether or not y'all know this is the front line, it is today. And she went in there guns blazing
And
and set it off. Just like
and the beauty was it's the way she was going at the mayor. And if you know the mayor, you know he has a way of because he's a politician, but she owned
yeah,
that.
yeah,
He was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna sit here and wait. Okay, you're not finished." Like he didn't even, anybody would have slammed their book and walked out because she was coming with it. Like she was like, boom, 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 boom. But what can you do? And as Black people, we just stand up like
exactly.
and not worry about you getting ready to lose your job.
Mm-hmm.
If we could
Mm-hmm.
just stand up and be bold in our statement.
But not your mission. And
Yeah.
that's the problem. You worried about your job and not the mission. Your job to is to deliver on the mission. That is your job. And
Right
if you're
on.
not delivering on the mission, then you're not doing shit. You
Yeah.
ain't doing shit for yourself or nobody else. Excuse my language, but I feel
Yeah.
very passionately about this,
Me too.
because this is one thing that um, and so Dr. Flo is so important to us right now.
Yes, she
Like
is.
I take the paragraph off to her.
She made me
She's
get
so
back in the
important
game.
to us right now because she's been in the arena and people are looking at her a certain way because of her general disposition is one of
Mhm.
peace and harmony. But make no mistake, she wants what's best for her people.
Right on. That's her. Yeah.
And she lives in a world where she knows that the genius is there, is available to create a solution that will benefit everyone.
Right on. Right on.
You know, and that's very powerful because there's nobody else out there out of all the people who've been out there for years and years and
Yep.
years doing the
I'm
thing.
telling you.
Ain't nobody ever piped up. You know, they scared. They so busy trying to get the mayor to sign off on their bullshit that they will not stand up and make him declare who he is. So
Yeah.
when you call somebody on their mission and say, "This is who you said you was gonna be. This is how you're showing up." So I need to know which one is the truth, and I want you to say it to my face, so that when it comes time for me to make a decision in regard to whether or not you get to sit in that chair, I'm gonna make the decision that's in my best interest for real, not the one that you're trying to pull the wool over my eyes.
You better
I'm not
say
going
that.
for the okey-doke, basically is what she said. We're not going for the okey-doke. So if this is what you said, this is what you're doing, is this what you meant to do?
I love Dr. Flo. It was just, she's very tight. She's a very small statured woman, but she was like 1,000 giants last night. Where you were just like, what the, you know?
Well,
she owns that.
And she says it very plainly. She's not trying to use up all her money on $20 words. She just says it very plainly and puts it right out there.
And she basically said, "We got money.
Yeah,
we got money. You ain't supposed to spend that money." Like it was like Big Mama up in there. And you was like, "Oh shit!" It just happened.
She's done what they have failed to do,
which
was their job. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's FloJean for mayor. As far as I'm concerned.
Hey! We know what's about that here. Don't get it twisted.
Let me
So
declare that right now.
Right on. Our dear sister Abba said, "Did you see the voodoo ceremony on the behalf done on the behalf in Benin, calling on spiritual forces and our ancestors?" What are y'all thoughts about that?
Did you see it?
I didn't see it yet. Abba, where can I go to see that? Is it on Facebook? Then I will.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know.
trying to see if I can find it while I'm on here to share in the comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wish we had Dr. Flo. We need a Dr. Flo in every city. Sure.
Yeah.
We do. And
I have to share that video.
She can help that happen.
Yeah. And you know what I love about her? She's a doctor. I mean, she's an epidemiologist, I think she said. And though she's where that is, she's so real about who she is. Like, she don't allow that to separate her from her people. You understand what I'm saying? She don't allow that to be like, well, I'm a doctor, so I'm not really poor like the rest of you people. Like, she don't do that. You know what I mean? And I think that is absolutely beautiful. I feel like we need to make sure people who know some of this knowledge and some of this science or spiritual, that we come off like that. Because far often I meet too many people who are into spiritual stuff, and they act like this shit is a big secret. And that's man, because man do shit like that. Man want to make something profitable, everything he does, instead of just, I'm not saying give the person everything, but the shit should be accessible. You giving somebody a blessed prayer, saying a speaking life over to them, that shit should not have to cost you $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. And this is the thing, like, as we move forward into a new way of doing things, I think we will see ourselves and each other differently. You know what I mean? Like, I really do look at this time as like, okay, there's some things that we've forgotten about ourselves. And remember, like, we'll treat ourselves and each other differently. As because there are people who are clear, and there are those who are less clear. And so as we become more clear about our spiritual power, our divine power, who we are, how we're made, then and more so in transparent or intuitive way, less as a someone telling us and pouring that information into us, but it's kind of a more of an awakening of ourselves, which when I would refer to the time when we all find our power, and that means that we won't hurt each other. When you know you have power and you know the person next to you has power, then you respond and relate to each other differently.
Mhm.
Because you have respect for the power that you share, and not to abuse it. It's so you don't abuse the person holding that power. We treat each other more gently, more kindly, and with more honesty. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I feel like that will bring about a definite change in the way that we approach our spiritual work for and with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are changes that we really, innovations or tweaks that we really must look at and do, because we've carried a lot of, and it makes sense. We've carried a lot of the Christian mindset into our African spirituality, and there's no space for the two. They're diametrically opposed philosophies. So we have to begin to shed that mindset, that Christian mindset. There are some. Uh, how do I put this nicely? There is no way. There are some priests that they want to have everybody. They want all the people in their Ile that they can get. They usurp from other Iles. They have feuds with other Iles and a whole lot of unnecessary garbage. And if we're supposed to be taking care of our spiritual selves and each other, we don't have time for that. That's counterproductive to our spiritual growth. If there are priests who are better at certain things, let them do those things. Why do I have to do everything? I got to learn and I got to grow and I have to evolve as a spiritual being, so I don't have to come back here no more. That's the whole thing. I guess that's just me. But I like okay, example. And I'm so sorry Yeye isn't here. But Yeye is a communal priest. And she's goddamn good at it too.
So true.
That's not me. I can't do that. I don't have her gift. And so I have to give way to her gift so that she can tell me the Odu, what this comes from, or she can tell me the days of the week and what they mean in Ifa, or she can share other things with me that I don't know. And I'm thankful for it. So why am I going to have a thing with her Ile and mine? Not that I have one, but if I did, you know what I'm saying? We have to let all that stuff go because it's not helping us, and it will not help us.
Right on, right on. I'm right there with you here. I just feel like we gotta. First of all, I'm grateful for. I shared the video in the comments, and Native Doctors in Benin, Republican, organized a ritual ceremony to get justice for George Floyd from their God. So I don't know if he typed their God or their God or whatever. This whole other story. But Ava said that my friend in Ghana sent me the translation, and they asked for justice for all of us, all of the warrior deities to fight for us, that we may be, that we may have victory over our enemies. Now, Black folks, we need all that.
And then some. Yeah.
Right on. We need all of that. And to me, I feel like that's a healing. You even have somebody in a whole other country praying on your behalf.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
even if you don't understand it, like you know that we need it because I still believe our ancestors are old. You know, it's just, we don't get to just wipe their struggle away because you live in a nice house today. It don't work like that because you've invested in the systems and you either go not investing in it anymore or you're gonna go down with your investment. It's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what?
Mm-hmm. We're on the Titanic. I don't know what that noise is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's me. But
No, you're
anyway,
good. You're good. It's okay.
we're on the Titanic and it's going down. And they still trying to play the violin and all them instruments that they were playing. Hell with that. Get me into a boat. You
Right.
know, our spirituality is our lifeboat. We can't afford to be playing around with it. We have to we have to make the changes and innovations to make it as smooth as possible ride for everybody. Well, everybody, I mean, I'm talking about my people. Isn't that funny? When I talk, I don't ever talk about somebody else. You know, I'm always talking about my people. I I don't think about, and it was Ifa Madupwe that really started. You didn't start me, but you like turned that switch for that paradigm change. Remember? You don't remember.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember? Yeah, that paradigm change. Yes, indeed.
Right on. We got some comments in here. The queen Ava basically saying yes, Dad's in Ghana too. Because it's Dad's in Ghana too. Jamil said he tried to get off the Titanic and get onto and hop onto Noah's Ark.
Okay, that's it.
And then our dear sister said again, can you speak about, or maybe you did another session talking about the use of spiritual technology in the rebellion. Now, look, that's a good one, dear sis.
Hmm.
And we talk about spiritual technology in this rebellion. Can y'all talk about that a little bit?
Well, you know my go-to. My go-to is always Bookman Duty and Cecile Fatima in the Haitian Revolution in the swamp when they met all of the warriors, um, and they brought down Ogun and sacrificed the pig. We have to call on our Orisha and our ancestors and bring about some of those changes. But you know, um, interestingly enough, I think that's what's happening. We started talking about that. I think that the pandemic was a part of that, and that the way we have that things have evolved since that pandemic. And you know, they told us about that what in February or March, whatever. That pandemic started way a long months ago. Before that, and there was no preparation. But that's another topic. But I think everything that's happening is a result of our spiritual works, abos, rituals, and tools that we have been using. Because we've been calling down the spirits for our redemption and change. In You said it earlier. Maybe we weren't. Maybe we were in the green room. Trump.
Yeah.
Trump. He was elected in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we might not have thought that that was a good thing. I'm sure it wasn't. A lot of people don't think it's a good thing. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But the point is that Trump is like the spark that lit the candle that we've been praying to get rid of Trump since he got in there, and even doing
Yeah.
ABO for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everything is in divine order.
Do you think that's because
Yeah.
we were afraid that Trump was going to make us do some things that we should have been possibly doing already?
No,
No, I don't think it was that
I-
conscious.
yeah,
I'm gonna be honest.
Okay. Right on.
My fear of Trump was that, and this, I believe he may still try this. I hope he doesn't get back in. But I felt that his mission was to start a race war.
Yeah.
That's what I felt from him, because the man has no political experience. I'm not going to talk about the man because then I give him energy, and I've refrained from doing that. But my thought was, this is the beginning of a race war.
But aren't we already in the middle of a race war?
Yes, we are, but we're not in those. What are those things? Those big. They have quite a lot of them, thousands of them. When they have. Now, isn't this
Look.
interesting? We are in quarantine.
Yeah, we are. So look here. 2 black men have been found lynched in California.
Doesn't
Flat out
surprise me.
No, really, hangings. They tell us that they committed suicide. So I think we think of war as like you across the street, I'm across the street with my guns, and we shoot each other. But then there's a war that just exists where they've been kind of like killing us
Yes.
up, incarcerating us. I mean, all of this stuff was warfare.
Yes, we've
Yeah.
been at war since we were captured. We're prisoners of war. That's what we are. But I'm talking about, I was afraid, put us in those camps. What are they with those big
Jail? FEMA.
Jail. FEMA, all those FEMA things. I really felt that that's what he was about, or that's what he is about.
And the dear sister saying there was 3 more on the East Coast. Thank you, sis. I'm in Louisiana at this moment, but I mean, I just don't know how. I don't know. Look, I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I'm not going to vote for him this time. I don't know who I'm voting for because ain't nobody going to bully me into doing shit. I'm going to keep saying that.
Right.
Saying you're not going to bully me, But I must say, sometimes the best person for the job to make you your greatest self is your worst enemy.
It's the enemy.
Because
Yeah,
we
that's
would have never
true.
got to this under Obama.
No.
Yeah.
We would have not recognized those lynchings under Obama. We would have not recognized all of these because he would have had a bear with the people, and we would have kept going.
Well, we have never not been at war.
Right on.
We've
Exactly.
only not been conscious of being at war. Because there have been things that have been designed to anesthetize us so that we didn't feel combative. Do you know? So with that being our situation, like there's been a lot of witchcraft worked on Black people.
You
in
got
my
to say
opinion.
that.
A lot of witchcraft, and witchcraft is anything that makes you act not in your own best interest, right? So there are periods where in our history in this country where we have been lynched like we are being lynched now. And then afterward, there are periods of excess where we kind of go into a lull and we don't really know, but we're still being attacked. You know what I mean? During these periods is the privatization of prisons and things like that. Somebody's at my door.
No, go ahead.
Sorry.
That's all right. So while our sister's doing that, I'm feeling like where she's going with this. I think those are the things that we really got to look at it. I don't know. I feel like there's what you see with your eye, and then there's with your physical eyes, and then there's things you
Yes,
see with your mental eye, or even your
yes,
spiritual eye. You know what I
yes.
mean? There's different things that, excuse me, sometimes we refuse to see because that means you have to now do something.
Something about it.
That's like
Yep.
when I get a reading and it tells me that I need to make offering or whatever, I could ignore the offering, and then when shit hit the fan, I'm gonna be feeling some way, or I could be like, "Thank you for bringing that up. I'm gonna take care of that."
Mhm.
You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And clear the way for whatever needs to happen. But the unseen is what helps the seen.
Yes. Yes.
You
Yes.
know. But,
Um, yeah, I thoroughly agree. But I also know, and that's no but there. I also know that everything that takes place on this plane is already taking place in the spiritual realm.
okay.
And so, um, things, I keep saying this, but things are exactly the way they're supposed to be. I don't know what it is that has caused my people to be in the situation in which we find ourselves, but I do know that it is in divine order. And I do know that those of us who are descendant from Africa and are on this side of the Atlantic have a special, um, uh, there are things that we must do that only we can do. Africa can't do it, people in other countries can't do it, but those Africans who were brought to this side of the Atlantic, they have a duty and they're going to bring, and I truly know that it lies in the hands of our women because there has never been a revolution without the women. Women are
Yeah.
always at the heart and center. The they pump the revolution.
Hmm.
Well, Sister Ifa Magufwe, what was you saying before? You had to go to check out the
Oh,
door.
about us, we've always been at war. There's never been a time where our lives have not been under threat. The privatization of prisons is something that happened largely in the background. And then when it was brought to the forefront, by the time it was brought to the forefront and people really were willing to accept that it was true, that it's a form of slavery, by that time people had kind of already normalized the sting of it. So the way that information comes to us is usually through like some type of subversive channel. It's interesting that we don't see that as an illusion, like there's some need to hide and obscure truth from us, because a lot of people are under the impression that we just don't have any power because we're
Mm-hmm.
not in positions of power. And the way that we've been indoctrinated to assess things is according to this Western or European model of measuring and counting, right? But
Hmm.
African people are largely big picture and we're holistic and harmony thinkers, right? So
Hmm.
instead of look at our and I attribute this to colonialism and slavery largely, because what didn't happen during the slavery process of pulling those Africans off the continent happened through the colonizing of African countries by going in and then indoctrinating people with these ideas. And it's something that's kind of nuanced, but it's present in all these European ideas and ideologies. Is this idea? So African spiritual systems are largely syntheistic. In other words, we believe in one creator entity like Olodumare, right? But a part of that are these emissaries. There's the Orishas, there's your Agum, but all of that fits into this one. So it's a syntheistic model, not a polytheistic model. And so, but but Christianity, let's just look at Christianity, which is because it's easy. Everybody's familiar with it, right? You have these interchangeable pieces, but there's the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? They don't advertise that as being syntheistic, although for people who are highly mystical or highly spiritual, they see it that way. But it's advertised as being separate things. And so it's like these three things. So it's like 1, 2, 3 that adds up to a whole spiritual system rather than it being a whole spiritual system. And then let's look at all the nuanced pieces of that system and all the ways that you can connect to it. And the reason why I bring this up is because these are spiritual challenges that we have in the way that we process information, because part of our intelligence is tied to our spiritual being. The way that we are able to know in our bodies what is the truth and then behave in our best interest is a part. So that's why I call it witchcraft. Because when we decide that, no, you have to break things apart and the pieces add up to the whole, is a different way of looking at the world. And so it allows us to measure and count things separately and justify actions that are not good for the whole, but good for that piece. Do you see what I'm saying? So we're saying that when you look at the police as a piece, as a separate piece of the government, then they get away with a lot of things based on we're here to stop crime. And crime does this and crime does that. So then people will reply to you and say, you can't defund the police because there's murder, there's rape, there's all these things, right? And of course you could rebut that, but you can't alleviate any of the fear. You can't alleviate any of the stress or anxiety related to those things, because that would have to come from a harmonious community, a way of looking at the community that's harmonious. And in order to that, then you have to start adding in all the other parts of the community, and you can't just look at the police by themselves. But Europeans like to measure and count. And so that also means that they get to pull out one piece of a thing and make it a silo. So that's how you have all these organizations that do the same thing, but they work independently. You know what I mean? Okay, well, we have to address this. We have to address this. So they have these ways of sidestepping policy issues by saying that only addresses this percentage of the community because it's going to be most impactful for Black people, and Black people make up this small number. But if you looked at it on a whole, if Black people do well, then everybody does well. Why? Because when we're well, we have access to our genius, and our genius impacts the world in a particular kind of way. So the country suffers because racism is like an infection that impacts everyone. But the way around curing it is just to, as Western medicine does, look at the symptoms. Let's solve the symptoms of racism. We won't ever get to take down the whole structure. So instead of doing a full body cleanse, toning the blood and building the blood of the system, what we do is we'll give you a Tylenol. Oh, you have a headache? Take a Tylenol. You have, you have this. Let me do this. Oh, you have a cancer in this part of your body? Let's give you radiation and chemotherapy. Let's do that. You know what I mean? And not to say that that doesn't have a positive impact. Sometimes it is good to move things out of the way. But at the same time, let's look at that as a way of solving problems. It is not a holistic approach. It's not sustainable. It doesn't work for everybody. It creates further separation between people. It's not harmonizing to the community. It doesn't really serve us in any kind of way. And our children are growing up in this environment, so they feel the need to point out, that's my Asian friend, that's my Black friend, that's how people grow up to say to you, I got this many Black friends, I'm not racist.
Ifama Dupre, who was at the door? Because they certainly are in you. you went to the door and came back on fire. Woo!
was also, well, I was reading this morning on women in the Yoruba religious sphere. I was reading that book by that sister,
Yeah.
and I was thinking, okay, this is a thing that thinking about the reading for the year and how women are going to be primarily responsible for change making and creating new ways of doing things. Like this is a big part of it. We have no choice as okay, feminine people or women have no choice in the way that we see the world. We just see the world largely according to who we are. And because of the fact, like giving birth is a physical manifestation of something spiritually that we own, that when you are able to create a microcosm of the macrocosm, that also impacts the way that your energy emanates into the world and the way that you absorb information from the world. So as we move around in being in the world, like this is our outlook is more of a diffuse awareness. We don't have so much singular awareness as women. We have a tendency to see the big picture. Our role in society has largely been to harmonize things. So we are really the heavyweight champions of bringing the whole shit together. That's what we do. When there's a problem in the family, it's very rare that there's a man in the family who will harmonize the situation. It's usually somebody's mama because they don't want relatives to relate to each other in a way that they will not be there for each other to support each other. And women largely understand, because of our role in the community, the importance of our interdependence as Black people, our ability to stand on our own 2 feet and then also link arms to hold each other up. I think that we get that inherently. It's a part of who we are. Like we just understand the importance of that. That you can't save Black men without saving Black women. That you can't save Black women without saving Black men. There's no way that it does not work that way. That we are able to raise children without being present as a community. That you can't have young people without elders. That you can't have elders without young people, because we need each other. Like we get that. That's a part of our being. And so we understand when we walk into a situation what our role is, and we automatically start playing that role. We don't have long conversations about I'm the whoop-de-whoop, blah-de-blah, the such and such and such. We just get to work and start doing the thing. Do you know what I mean? For the most part, that's who we are. Now, there are those among us who behave differently, and then ourselves who behave differently in certain situations. Of course, nothing is perfect, but the idea being that this is who we've been in the world. And for that, this has now become our responsibility. And the cold part about it, saving Black women is saving everybody. The cold part about it is it's not that we have to lay our lives down. See what we've been doing. We think when people say that we're responsible for making the change in the world, it automatically means to us that then we gotta take out our titty one more time to feed somebody else. Now we gotta mop somebody in this another nigga's flows. Now we gotta do, oh, here we go again. It's always on the Black woman. But instinctually, like, I don't feel that to be the truth of this statement. In this particular, I think all we have to do is stand up and be ourselves. I think the most revolutionary thing we can do at this time is love ourselves and each other and do those things that come up for us to do individually as our part of it. I think we need to model different behavior. We don't need to model saviorism. White saviorism and Black woman saviorism are neck and neck in the world, which is why a lot of people say Black women move around the world easier than Black men. That's not true. We're just out here saving everybody. We're out one person at a time, hanging off our breasts and bra straps until our back breaks and we die. You know what I mean? Like, we need to cut it out. That's our part of it. We got work to do too. Like, it ain't just, you know what I mean? We're not going to be out here pointing switches at people saying, I'm going to whoop you if you don't do blah, blah, blah. No, we have some shit to do too, because we have to get away from that.
See,
know.
I tell you, who was at you don't have to answer this question, but whoever was there, somebody came in there and they are possessing you.
Yeah. 'Cause
No, he outside working.
you
That's my
need to hear
dad's
that. You said
work
that so
buddy.
beautifully. And you got
Yes,
a lot
you
of people in
did.
this room agreeing with you too, sis.
Oh, God,
Yeah, I'm
yes.
glad. I
Yeah.
just, I want us to be, ready mentally, because we don't know. We're in uncharted waters. For us in this generation, we're in uncharted waters. These aren't waters that have never been charted by anybody. And of course, we can Sankofa, go back and get what we need to get to shore us up. But we're going to have to come up with our own strategies. We're
Yeah.
going to have to
Yeah.
innovate based on the genius that is present. And that's what our job's going to be, is to take the information that everybody has, the intelligence that people have, and put it in its proper place.
Right on.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then as we begin to rebuild the structure according to our values, not according to the payoff. You know what I'm saying? That's why I get so irritated at Black people who made strides to get in the door places to have influence, and then they cowered. They
Mhm.
didn't use the influence, and the whole community was counting on them to do
Yep.
that. And all they had
Yeah.
to do was say, "This is one thing I don't know," and go get somebody from the community who does know. That's all you got to
Mhm.
do. It's
Mhm.
just take your ego out of the game and say, "Okay, well, I know it's here. The answer to how to solve this problem for us and everybody is here." But it's like, we were walk together, children, don't get weary, keep your eyes on the prize. I shall not be moved, all the way to the CEO office. And then once you got the CEO position, you was like, I'm just trying to keep my down. I gotta feed I gotta pay my mortgage. I need a new car. All of that. That's not based on no spiritual values.
Oh, my
Like, where are
God.
you getting this from? Who's that helping? You leave your own grandkids to start over because of
Yeah.
selfishness. That's
Yes.
all it is selfishness.
That's so true.
Yeah.
It's not self-important. I mean, it's self-importance, but it's not self-preservation, right? Because we
No.
know that our kids and our grandkids and the people who come after us are a part of us, and we may even have to come back into that bloodline. So it's not self-preservation. It's like, right now I want this, and it's more important than all these people that I could be setting something up for, so we could all have something,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
open the door. It's like, at some point you decided that you just don't like Black people no more. So now I'm just gonna do me. But that's
Yeah.
not how you got there.
Yep.
That's not how you got there. If the person who made it possible for you to be there said, "I'm just gonna do me," then you wouldn't even have an opportunity to do. You'll be out probably trying to sell your behind. Just like and allowing. We've indulged and normalized a certain level of pain and abuse from each other and from other people, that I think Black women are now saying, "No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that." And I think that's beautiful to me. I love to hear sisters say, I don't have no relationship to that. You can go
Right
on with
on.
that. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm. Mhm.
Because like we know what our standard, because every time we lower our standards or compromise the value of ourselves, our body absorbs the hit.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Our body absorbs it, and that's not what your body is
Yes.
for. Your body is here to support you in fulfilling your destiny. Your body ain't here to take unnecessary hits. It's gonna take enough hits, and it's designed to take those hits. So whatever you
Mhm.
got, big titties, big booty, big thighs, small, whatever you got going on, your body is designed perfectly for what you got to do. Trust and believe. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And it will adjust accordingly. But if you put it in harm's way, then it's going to start doing weird stuff. And you should love yourself more than that. We have to love ourselves more than that. We get to love ourselves more than that.
Wow.
You know.
Yeah.
That was
Ooh-wee.
beautiful.
Yeah. You're
Beautiful.
hey.
I
So,
talked a long time.
we wrapping this up. No, I love, no.
No,
Yeah,
no,
all that. Look
no,
at
no.
that.
What you had to say is what I need to hear. I don't know, and it looked like everybody else need to hear it too. It
Right on.
was put in such a
Ashe.
way that it hit home. It hits you in the heart. It hits you in the
Ashe.
head. It hits you in the first eye. You know that someone is speaking truth to power to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Keep it up. Now
Thank you.
we
Thank
need
you.
to take you and Flo and deposit y'all across the country.
Man, Flo,
Yeah.
I'm a brag right now. Excuse me. I started Sister Flo's locks.
Oh, you did
Oh.
that?
I did.
All that great
So I've been blessed to spend a good amount of time with Sister Flo, and she's a real McCoy, man.
Yes,
I'm
she
telling
is.
you, that sister's the real deal. Like she
Yeah.
really is.
We got to make
So,
sure we go upstairs and make sure she's protected while she up there fighting for us.
Ashe.
Yeah.
So we'll let our
Ashe.
freedom fighters go all the way out there and don't offer shit.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's true.
And ways of protecting her. As I said, tell us what you need. Tell us what you need.
Mhm.
Like I said this morning, I'm not even fighting for the right now. I'm fighting for 100 years from now. I look at Sister Harriet Tubman, and I know I'm standing on her shoulders for real.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So most
Yeah.
of the stuff we won't even benefit directly.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the whole thing. Like I'm starting to say what I used to hear my dad say all the time. And I used to think that it was so weird for him to say that. Like, don't say that. He would say, I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime, but I'm just gonna plant the seed. And
Right
so
on.
that's how I feel right now, because I'm looking at my nieces. Like, I have great nieces and nephews, and I'm looking at them and like trying to imagine the world that they can start out in, start out being adults in. Of course, they're going to impact it in the ways that they do and change the things that they're going to change. But I want to leave them a little bit. I want to leave them in a clean world, a cleaner world. You know what I mean? There's some things that we can clean up that will just set the stage for them to just take off completely.
Inherit something different.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you know another thing what popped into my mind, your parents, Eva Dupuy, said the same thing. They're Panthers.
Yeah. I give praise to the Olodumare for my parents, because they are, they are really awesome. Really, I really appreciate the things that they have instilled in me. Because for one thing, we did a lot of moving around and lived in a lot of neighborhoods where it wasn't that many Black people, but they made sure that I loved Black people. Like, they didn't play no games with that. Like, we don't, you might see this, but we don't do that. This is what we're doing over here. So yeah, I definitely appreciate that refocusing and the spiritual inheritance. I appreciate the spiritual inheritance, because out of that I've done things that even they was like, are you for real right now? And I was like, yep, I am.
Right on.
Because my ancestors said that that's the way it had to be. So yeah, I definitely I acknowledge that.
It's been awesome. I'm enjoying this conversation. We're going to be back tomorrow with more knowledge, wisdom, understanding, growth, the whole
Ashe.
man.
Ashe.
We'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace, family.
Peace.